They say the best camera for the beginner creator is the one in your pocket. Well, today we're going to leave the Samsung and the iPhone behind, and we're going to switch over to the Panasonic. Now I've got a confession to make. From the beginning, I've always said we've had a GH6 until I had to buy some batteries. And when the batteries didn't fit, I realized that I've been using a G7 the whole time. But instead of sending the batteries back, I decided, hey, why don't we just get a GH6 to match the batteries? So today's unboxing and upgrade is the Panasonic GH6 and all the gear that I got with it. Let's check it out real quick. The Panasonic GH6 can record up to 5.8K in 30 frames per second or 5.7K in 60 frames per second. It's got 40 different recording modes and can record in Apple ProRes. This thing is just shy of a cinema camera and a mirrorless camera body, and it goes head to head with the Sony FX3. Today we're going to use a G7 for all the top-down shots. It's got the same configuration as we were using in the other studio with the G-Vario 14-42 small aperture lens. And for the main camera and all the detail shots, we're going to be using the GH6 with the Miki 25mm macro lens. This thing's got a little bit more horsepower behind it, and it should leave the Samsung and the iPhone in the dust. And we didn't stop there, we got some upgrades for this thing too. So before we take the Samsung off the tripod, let's go over some of the things we got in this week. So this is the configuration I'm going to be using going forward, whether it's in this niche, the cooking channel, or in future niches such as fitness or home improvement. So we're not done yet. Let's take a look at the next piece of equipment that we got in to upgrade the GH6. I know what you're thinking, the monitor's backwards, but since we're going to be using it to record ourselves, we got the monitor facing to the front so we can keep an eye on where we are in the scene. Let's go ahead and switch this thing out and see what the difference looks like. Right now you're looking at the picture from the Samsung S23, and now you're looking at the GH6. You know, the gear's not the only thing that we upgrade here. We're also going to be upgrading our cooking skills. Let's go over what we're going to be cooking today. Today we're cooking a cowboy steak with roasted potatoes. Let's get the stove light turned on, the pan heated to medium high, and the oven started at 400 degrees. Because the potatoes are going to take longer at 30 to 35 minutes as opposed to the 20 for the steak, we need to get those ready first. So we'll go ahead and get our cutting board out so that we can dice up the potatoes into quarters. We'll season them, put some oil on them, and then we'll get them in the oven. All right, before you start cutting, you want to make sure your potatoes are washed. We've already got that taken care of. So we're going to go ahead and start cutting these into quarters. All right, the potatoes are cut up. Let's transfer it to a bowl so we can put some seasoning and oil on it. You know, in the last episode, we did set design and we added some herbs to the background. We're actually going to be using those herbs today. We're going to be using the rosemary. Let's grab a sprig of rosemary, chop it up, and we'll toss it in with the potato. Tell you what, that actually smells really good. Make sure you get all the leaves off the stem. Then we're going to finely chop the rosemary. We've got the rosemary chopped up. Let's go ahead and add that to the bowl. Let's go ahead and grab our seasonings real quick. Today we're going to be using seasoned salt, garlic powder, and 21 seasoning salute from Trader Joe's. All right, a light sprinkling of each seasoning. And then let's throw some oil on this thing, mix it up, and we'll put it into the small dish and get it into the oven. We're going to be using classic olive oil. And we'll go ahead and give that a stir. All right, once the potatoes are well covered, you can go ahead and transfer it to whatever dish you're going to be using to put into the oven. This one is an oven-safe glass dish from Anchor. Let's go ahead and get this thing into the oven. All All right, that's going to go at 400 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes. That gives us some time to go ahead and prep our steak. Let's get into it. All right, before the steak, we're going to start off with covering it in butter. And we're going to be cooking it at about medium-high heat. Make sure the pan's hot. We want to sear it for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and then make sure you sear the edges as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at this steak. We've had our butter sitting out for about 30 minutes to an hour just to soften up, because we want to use it basically as a spread. So we're going to take the butter, a whole stick of butter, and we're going to mix a couple of ingredients into it. Okay, and so for the butter spread, we're actually going to be using Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse and Kinder's Steak Blend, and we'll throw a little bit of garlic powder in there, and we're going to cover both sides with the butter sauce, and then we'll put a little bit of oil in the pan and we'll get it seared. So let's go ahead and mix up the Kinder's and the garlic powder into the butter. We're going to do a liberal amount of seasoning because we've got a lot of steak to cover here. In fact, let's just go ahead and take the top off of it. Why not? I say the more seasoning, the better. Now, both of these ingredients do have salt in them. Both of the Kinders do have salt in them, so you don't want to add any extra salt. That's why we're not using the seasoned salt or any coarse ground salt. All right, once you have all the seasonings on there, go ahead and mix that up all together. All right, so we've got our butter paste mixed up. Let's go ahead and apply it to the steak. Apply it liberally to both sides. You can also use garlic in the pan and in the mix as well if you want minced garlic or crushed garlic. It adds another dimension to the flavor. We're not using the garlic today, but it's definitely something you could add in if you're a fan of garlic. Okay, make sure you get all the sides and of course the top and bottom. And then let's put this big boy on the pan. All right, make sure you don't move it after you put it on the pan because you don't want to mess up the crust. You can lift it up just a little bit just to make sure the crust is cooking, so we'll do that now. If it looks good, we'll go ahead and flip it over. All right, it's got a nice strong crust, so let's go ahead and flip it over. All right, so it looks like the crust is good on both sides. Let's go ahead and get the edges, and then we'll go ahead and put it into the oven. All right, we're gonna go for medium rare on this one, and that's gonna be about 135 degrees, but we're gonna pull it out at about 130. So we're gonna need an oven thermometer to make sure we hit our mark. So let's go ahead and set our thermometer to 135 degrees. We'll put it in the center of the steak, and we'll go ahead and start working on a horseradish sauce to go on the side. For the horseradish sauce, we're gonna use a little bit of mayo and some prepared horseradish. Add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of mayo and about a teaspoon of horseradish. And we'll put that into a small serving dish. All right, it sounds like the alarm's ready. Steak's ready. Let's go ahead and see what we've got. Now the temperature of the steak is going to continue to rise for the next 5 minutes, so we're going to put some foil on it to let it finish cooking. All right, so the steak's been sitting for an extra 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and slice it up and see what it looks like. And that looks like about medium rare. So a well-cooked steak, we're just waiting for the potatoes and we'll get this thing plated up. It's been about 30 to 35 minutes. Let's go ahead and grab the potatoes to see if they're done. All right, a little bit toasty, a little bit crispy on the top. Let's get this thing plated. All right, cowboy steak and potatoes looks good from here. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section. Tell us how we did on this recipe. And be sure to subscribe because on the next episode, we're gonna go over advanced camera angles and camera motion and do some more editing. So we'll see you guys next time on the Small Creator Studio.